I rise in opposition to the amendment. The people I represent value American agriculture and understand that food doesn't grow on grocery store shelves. It takes the hard work and high risk of farmers to get that food to market. I believe all of those farmers are worth supporting. This amendment effectively ends the safety net for the large family farmer, without whom many of our small family farms couldn't produce. I therefore urge my colleagues to oppose the amendment. With that, I yield back.
During our busy, day-to-day lives, hardly do we question where our commodities come from. We hear from time to time that carcinogens have been found in certain types of food or a common product that can lead to a variety of diseases. In many instances, we make lifestyle choices in order to maintain our well-being and the health of our loved ones. Recently, positive changes have been taking place in the consumer food industry. More consumers are choosing organic or all-natural produce over conventionally grown produce in an effort to live healthier lives. Although these changes are a definite improvement since the GMO revolution, they appear to be magnifying an issue that has been around longer than you'd think. Globalization is a topic that relates to all of us, whether or not you know what it means. Globalization is Skyping a relative overseas. It's the Made in China sticker that dominates our goods. It's even the avocado you pick up at the grocery store with a sticker that says Guatemala. The ingredients for the average American's diet can travel between 800 and 3,000 miles from the ground to your home. While globalization is progressing rapidly, a less well-known but impactful localization movement is sweeping through American communities. To learn more, we took a trip to Sundew Gardens, a U-Pick garden in Oviedo, Florida, and talked with Tom Carey, the owner and operator.
Good morning, my name is Tom Carey, and welcome to Sundew Gardens here in Oviedo, Florida. Local farming in the U.S. right now is a real throwback to marketing methods of almost a century ago. So with reinventing the wheel these days, what we're trying to do is get back to the roots that we can historically recognize as very successful in the past. The real problem that we're running into is there's lots of regulations even preventing us from economically being successful. A small farmer cannot raise animals on his farm, butcher them, and sell the meat. The small farmer has to hire an outside butcher, then has to have a retail license to sell meat, and through all of those added layers of bureaucracy, it pretty much takes a small farmer out of the equation and leaves most meat production to what we recognize as vastly huge centralized production facilities, with the results of, if there is a food poisoning scare or something, it's a nationwide problem, not isolated to the small farm.
My name is Jeannie Economos, and I'm the Pesticide Safety and Environmental Health Project Coordinator for the Farm Worker Association of Florida. And this is our office in Apopka, which is just north of Orlando. Our immigration policy is totally interconnected with the labor force and the economics of agriculture. So when we need workers, we forget about immigration. And when we don't need workers, we're like, oh, send all those illegal immigrants back to their countries. We needed people to work in agriculture. It's really hard work. It's very little pay. Not many people want to do it. So that's when there was a big influx of Mexicans. It also depended on the economy in Mexico. So a lot of Mexicans came into the United States to work in agriculture. And that's when the workforce began to change. A big change came when NAFTA was passed in the mid-1990s. NAFTA caused a lot of pressure, economic pressure on Mexico, because we were dumping a lot of corn and other products into Mexico. And so a lot of people could no longer compete with imports from the United States, so they lost their economic base. And a lot of immigrants from Mexico came into the United States as a result of NAFTA. In addition to the labor conditions, fact that workers are not protected under the Fair Labor Standards and the National Labor Relations Act. Farm workers also work in an industry where they put their health at risk every single day so that we can have a food supply. So all of us, everybody that eats and that doesn't grow their own food, owes a debt to farm workers, because in getting that tomato to your store, and getting that orange or that pepper or that lettuce to your store, most farm workers were exposed to pesticides in the field. And to me, it's criminal that our agricultural industry makes money at the level of the farmer, at the level of the grocery store, the restaurant. They're all making money off of the health of farm work.
When I hear a large-scale farmer saying that they have to use undocumented workers because American workers won't do the job, they're leaving off the final half of that sentence. The only reason American workers won't do that job is because they're not getting paid enough to live in America to do that job.
Really? No Americans? I did. As part of my ongoing series, Stephen Colbert's Fallback Position, where I try other jobs and realize that mine is way better. I participated in the UFW's Take Our Jobs campaign, one of only 16 people in America to take up the challenge. Though that number may increase in the near future, as I understand many Democrats may be looking for work come November. Now, I'll admit, I started my workday with preconceived notions of migrant labor. But after working with these men and women, picking beans, packing corn, for hours on end, side by side, in the unforgiving sun, I have to say, and I do mean this sincerely, please don't make me do this again. It is really, really hard. For one thing, when you're picking beans, you have to spend all day bending over. It turns out, and I did not know this, most soil is at ground level. If we can put a man on the moon, why can't we make the earth waist high? Come on, where is the funding? This brief experience gave me some small understanding of why so few Americans are clamoring to begin an exciting career as seasonal migrant field worker. So what's the answer? I'm a free market guy. Normally, I would leave this to the invisible hand of the market, but the invisible hand of the market has already moved over 84,000 acres of production and over 22,000 farm jobs to Mexico, and shut down over 1 million acres of U.S. farmland due to lack of available labor, because apparently even the invisible hand doesn't want to pick beans. Now, I'm not a fan of the government doing anything, but I've got to ask, why isn't the government doing anything?
The large-scale farms have been so addicted to cheap, illegal labor that they now have lost the trained pool of workers that know how to work on the farm, and they're not willing to pay a living wage for people to work on the farms. The alternative to that, in a small family farm, the love and the care of the land that the people would offer would provide the motivation to innovate, to be productive, to find new methods, to grow crops that their community wants, not just a commodity to sell into industrial production.
So I'll just leave you with my favorite quote. When I first read this quote, I didn't know who said it, but it left a really big impression on me. And the quote is, "I hope we shall crush in its birth the aristocracy of our moneyed corporations that dare even now to challenge our country to a trial of strength." That was Thomas Jefferson in 1819. And look where we are now with the power of the corporations and the influence of the corporations in the United States and around the world.